Hello and good day and welcome to episode 21 of the Hottoycast, the Exploring in College episode of our most esteemed podcast, discussing all things high-end action figures from the likes of Hot Toys, Sideshow, Collectibles, and many more. My name is Eamon O'Donoghue, and with me today are...
Jeff Parker, also known as Wookster on various collecting boards.
And Michael Crawford, known as, well, gee whiz, Michael Crawford on all the boards I'll at least admit to going to.
At least admit going to. Okay, today, now we've got a lot of figures to cover today because we've obviously been away for a few weeks. We've all been very busy individuals, so we've got a lot of figures to cover today. But as it's opening weekend of a big comic book event, merchandising event, let's just, and literally, Jeff, yourself, you've just seen it literally 2 hours ago.
I did indeed. Took my eldest daughter and went and saw Age of Ultron, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm not going to give any spoilers. Obviously, I wouldn't be that crass. But suffice to say, I enjoyed it. I personally didn't think it was as good as the first one, but it was an enjoyable romp.
An enjoyable romp. Now, one of the reasons we're going to talk about a little bit of Age of Ultron, not much now, because it's not we haven't actually get into figures yet. But one reason we're going to talk about Age of Ultron today is the fact that pretty much we've seen all of the figures coming out from the line, including probably the most expensive hot toy ever made, the Hulkbuster, which is weighing in at a crazy price. Like what price is the Hulkbuster, Mike?
What, isn't it about $800?
Mind you, having said that, I can't remember the name of the company that made it. I think you mentioned something about it on Facebook, Eamon. Who is that company that's making the one with all the remote control effects where it all kind of opens up and you can...
Comic Cave, I believe they're called.
Comic Cave, that's the one. That was incredible.
Yeah, they had it a premiere for those who haven't seen it. There's a YouTube video out there. Look it up, Comic Cave Hulkbuster. And basically, they've made this one quarter scale Hulkbuster, so that gives you some idea how big this thing's, like 3-4 foot tall. And it's fully automated, as in the whole thing opens up and reveals Tony Stark, Iron Man in the middle, and it goes the full whack, and it's like, oh boys, oh boys, oh boys. Now, one of the things right off the back there, I was thinking as soon as I saw it, I was like, cool. I can't imagine this will be in a price bracket that any reasonable human can afford. So unless you're living in Beverly Hills or Qatar or one of the Emirates countries, I can't imagine who would feel justified spending what probably will be about $1,000 for this figure. I'd imagine.
I would have thought at least. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know, but
who's going to buy this? I think it's great that we're getting these crazily inventive figures, but I just wonder, is there a market there for it? I mean, what do you think, Mike?
Well, they probably don't have to sell too many of them, so they can. Hulkbuster's got to be marked up. I mean, let's face it, at $800, that's one hell of a price tag. So they're not expecting to sell 5,000 or 10,000 of them. So the market doesn't have to be as large.
But of course, the interesting thing there is that as people's expenditure changes, and the fact that there will be fewer of them out there almost certainly, that secondary market potentially in a few years from now is just going to go absolutely freaking mental.
It's a very interesting time for these kinds of figures, with them injecting technology and stuff into it now. I mean, it's getting crazy. I can imagine in 20 years' time we'll have like walking around Hulkbuster figures and walking around Iron Man figures with little dudes and everything that can wave at you. Way!
You think back to before 2008, before everything went a bit pear-shaped with the economy. People were buying Hicks for $1,000, because they wanted him that much. So
there were some insane secondary market prices. Which is the reason we're seeing the suggested retail price jump so much.
Yeah.
Right? Hot Toys wasn't interested in leaving all that money on the table.
No.
Right, that's interesting. I mean, because it's and to kind of carry on from that, it's like Hot Toys have done what we've never, as far as I'm aware, I am open to a correction here, but Hot Toys have never ever released a figure of a movie before the actual movie release date. And with Age of Ultron, we already have Captain America and the Mark 42 repaint. It's Mark 42, right? That red one? Or is it Mark 45, that red one?
I'm not sure. Yeah, but
it's Mark 42.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's the Mark 43. The Mark
43.
42. It's Mark 43. It's the red version of the gold one from Iron Man 3.
Right.
So, it's essentially the same thing. It's essentially the exact same figure, but with a base and a part of an Ultron and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I mean, I love it.
Yeah. But I also think that a lot of this is down to the fact that we're getting a lot of repeat characters where costume variations are kind of, important, from a merchandising angle, but minimal to the fans doesn't it? You'll think, oh, I'll just live with this Captain America, or I'll just live with this, whatever it is. But having seen it today, there are a few extras that I think are going to be that they've been holding back on revealing. So I think there is some extra stuff coming out, and I think they've just hit us early with the ones that they're kind of thinking, are these ones going to sell as well? It's a bit like when they did Watchmen, and it obviously didn't go well for them, and they kind of hit us with some of the characters that we didn't want quite so much.
Yeah.
And they kind of held back, and then that kind of ruined the whole kind of shebang. But no,
yeah, I am a little worried. I just complained about this when I reviewed Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Because
here you've got a situation where Guardians of the Galaxy was a surprise hit. Nobody was doing it much about it in advance because everybody thought it would be a talking raccoon and a ambulatory tree, and nobody was going to go for it. And so you didn't see a lot of merchandise up front. It was a huge, massive hit. Easily the biggest Marvel movie of last year. Yeah. And then what have we got so far in our actual hot little mitts? We've gotten Star Lord and Gamora out of the main 5, plus what you could argue there were 2 solid villains that they could be doing when they're only doing 1. And we don't even have Drax up for pre-order.
No, I think there's an issue with his likeness or something there.
There's something going on there. And we have Thanos up for pre-order, but no Ronan. So then we get into Age of Ultron, and we're seeing them hit it hard. Like you said, Eamon, we're seeing for the first time figures before the movie. But what we're seeing is frickin' repeats.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Another Captain America, another Hulk, another Hawkeye, another, 2 or 3 Iron Men, another War Machine. So you're really only getting right now Ultron and that, which you could argue is maybe, the beat-up Mark 1, which is whether it's a Iron Man version or an Ultron version is kind of up for debate. Yeah. Since it's sort of both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're seeing them, it seems like instead of focusing on new characters, they're super focused on repeating the same characters to maximize that profit. And I'm just concerned that's, I don't want them to go down that road. I just think it's trouble.
Now, what really alarmed me, and it's a bit of a kerfuffle as well. You know me, I like bringing my kerfuffles to this show. What alarms me is how instantly overnight, like Captain America Winter Soldier's price dropped. My friend Dan got Captain America Winter Soldier, couldn't sell it for the love of God, had to sell it for like 130 quid. Because this new Captain America was out, and this new Captain America, much to my annoyance, came with the head sculpt that you got with the 2-pack.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And I was like, oh, okay, so I did end up buying that head, actually. It's really nice, it's a lovely head sculpt, but it's the same head sculpt you're getting with a slightly different change in the eyes, I think, on the Age of Ultron Captain America, which is, from all accounts, an awesome Captain America, because he's superposable, whereas Winter Soldier was a little limited on that aspect. But it's just, how would that really, like, your Captain America, which is not to say that I'm always considering how much something is worth, but when you have a limited budget, you are worried about, you want to exchange your figures. I can't imagine I'm the only one around who, will update your figures. And I was like, maybe I'll sell on my Winter Soldier, or even my previous Avengers Captain America to fund a new one. And then it's just like, oh my god, but the price is completely bottomed out Winter Soldier Captain America, which is like, Jesus. I mean, my friend lost like 50, 60 quid on this. He had to take a cut price because he wanted this new one.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you see them now on Zavvi and online websites. Black Widow dropped down to 125 quid.
Yeah.
And she was like 160 when she first came out.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things, though, where, this has been discussed a lot, and I know Mike said, and I've said in my reviews as well, is that, this is not an investor's market. Sometimes you hit pay dirt and you get lucky, but on the whole, you kind of need to be in it for the love of it, and you need to be collecting these things so you want them. However, the fact that these prices are going forever and ever and ever up, and if, as you say, people are using the secondary market to finance, moving on to propping up Hot Toys in effect, to keeping the company going, it's a vicious circle, and eventually, it's going to end up biting itself on the arse. And from what you're saying now, it sounds like we're kind of in that situation now.
Yeah.
Right, because at what point are people going to stop buying the current version up front because they're afraid, well, then the next one's going to be better, right? Mm-hmm. And these characters, you'd be crazy. You might say, well, maybe there won't be another Hawkeye, but if you think there's not going to be another Captain America, they're going to release another one. So do you wait for that one now because you've seen them go through 3 or 4 iterations and they just keep getting better?
Not to mention the fact that we'll have a new one coming out in Civil War. Now, one of the interesting things that I've been reading on the Facebook groups is one of the lads said that suggested that this Age of Ultron movie, while awesome, will be, slightly kicked to the curb a little bit because people will remember the first one more and maybe remember the last one more. And therefore, potentially, if you want, like the argument is like, do I keep my original Avengers set? Because I think they look bold and iconic, even though I know there's a better Thor. I know there's maybe arguably a better Black Widow.
Oh, there's definitely a better Black Widow. When you hold the three, when you put the three that they've released, side by side, the likeness has just gotten better and better. But that's across the board, right? That even back then, the Hot Toys likenesses, even if you look at the Tony Stark Iron Man, and I mean, it's almost night and day if you just go back a few years.
Yeah, it is, and it's funny because it's like I think Black Widow and likewise Thor are two characters that really stand out as showing this real rapid progress they've made in the quality of paint and kind of the finished product. That you look at that very first Black Widow, and you look at the first Thor. Yeah. And at the time they came out, they were cracking figures. I mean, the first Thor's really cool still because he's the only guy with the one that came with the helmet. Yeah. But at the same time, they really are I think they're really good kind of like catalysts of seeing exactly how much they have changed in that really short period of time as to the quality.
Well, I was shocked when I looked at the three Black Widows side by side. It really is amazing.
Do you think the Avengers Black Widow, the original Avengers Black Widow, is? I still quite like her though.
Yeah, I like her because I like the hairstyle too a little better than the third one.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm a bit unsure there, but I just thought it was a relevant conversation for us to have a discussion because it seems to be the hot topic at the moment. But there's a lot of things to consider there. Will this Avengers Age of Ultron movie? Will this be the definitive? You kind of want to have your definitive Avengers set, and it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? You kind of like, do I sell my new ones for these better ones? I know these better ones look better, but look so iconic because it's the first Avengers. Blah, blah, blah. It's a conversation we'll probably continue on when we actually start getting some of the figures in, and I'm sure we might have one or two of them in by the next recording. So we shall get on with our regular show. We will get on now with some reviews then, chaps. So I think everyone is kind of. We're going to discuss. We've got Han Solo. We got Robocop. We got Gamora. We've got quite a few. We got Ichabod Crane. We got some stormtroopers on the way. So I'll throw it up there, lads. Which one should we discuss first? Han and Solo. Han. Should we go for Han Solo on the Tantaun?
Yeah. Sure.
Well, you're the only one who has this one.
Yeah, all right, I'll talk about it. Well, we got that. Yeah. We've got a lot of Hoth goodness coming out of Sideshow this last month because we got the Han Solo, we got the Luke Skywalker, and we got the Tantaun. So it was a nice trio to build your display. It's been really popular particularly since Drake, to bash on Sideshow. They did such an awful job with Drake that it really affected a lot of people's opinions of their ability. To the point where I think they've ended up getting a lot of flack over the last 3 months or so that really isn't fully justified. I thought Snake Plissken was a good example. It was a head sculpt and a paint job that was much better than a lot of the Hyperbole I saw out there. The costume and the figure itself it still sucked. The costume and the accessories were terrible for what we expect. But it wasn't a sculpting problem. And I'm seeing a lot of both the Hoth Han and the Hoth Luke take a lot of flack that I don't think they deserve. They are excellent sculpts. As a matter of fact, I think the Han is the best Han we've gotten in 6th scale. He's a really good looking sculpt as well as a really good paint job. Now you can argue they still need to go a little further to get quite to the level of the paint of the best Hot Toys work. It seems like we forget sometimes. We're going to be talking about Ichabod here in a little while. We seem to forget sometimes that not every Hot Toys figure knocks it out of the park when it comes to the paint job and that lifelike realism. But they still have a little ways to go. But the Hoth Han, that's hard to say 3 times fast. And the Hoth Luke are both really excellent figures. The costumes are great too, and both of them when you get them, they come with the extra head sculpts, right? So you've got the unhooded Han sculpt that you can kit bash your own Bespin or put it on one of the other earlier Bespin, like the Sideshow Bespin that we got a few years ago, and it's a much improved look. Also, on top of that, underneath the outer heavy jacket is the Bespin jacket as well. So you can take it off this figure and put it on another one, and pretty easy kit bash to get yourself a good looking Bespin Han as well.
Yeah.
What's a Tauntaun like?
Well, the Tauntaun is a big resin statue.
Is that what it is? I thought there's a
Yeah,
lot
he's
of
not
moving
articulated at all. He's like the Dewback, or he's a big ass resin heavy, crush an animal's skull with this thing, kind of beast. But they've given you two heads so that it's joined at the neck. In person, the neck you can actually see the seam a bit more than I like. They could have done a better job hiding it in the sculpted fur. But the two heads swap out so you can get two different expressions. And then the horns swap out so you can have either the regular horns or the broken horn that Luke had.
Oh, cool.
He also comes with a couple different packs for the saddle so that you can either go with a Luke look or a Han look with the saddle. Yeah. And he does when you put Han or Luke on his back, he looks fantastic. He really is very impressive on the shelf. It makes for a great display. You add him in with the the snowtrooper and the probe droid, and you really can start putting together a really nice Hoth display.
Yeah, the probe droid would be great with that, wouldn't it? Yeah, that'd be quite nice. That'd be very nice.
I take it there are no Wampa plans, though. I haven't seen any plans for a Wampa.
I haven't heard any Wampa plans, and we really need a Wampa. We'll see how well Chewie comes out. Let's see how Hot Toys does with all that fur.
Yeah.
Well, we were not far away from Chewie, though. We should have Chewie pretty soon.
Yeah.
Chewie had pretty soon the 2-packs, which, oddly enough, you could only buy the 2-pack from Sideshow Collectibles. You couldn't really buy. You had to buy them if you wanted to buy them from outside Sideshow Collectibles. You had to buy them separately, which was really uncost effective. Is that a word? Uncost effective. I'm going to go with it. Uncost effective, and so that was a bit puzzling. That we can.
It's also called rip-off.
Yeah.
Another term for it.
I mean, it really was. It's way more expensive to buy the two Han and Chewie separately from abroad, from like China or whatever. It's way more expensive, and you are better off going to Sideshow Collectibles for buying this. Yeah, you will get stung for FedEx. I tell you this now, everyone living in Europe, you are guaranteed to get stung with import fees because it's FedEx. They always ship FedEx, and that's great because you can really track your item and it's great and secure, but you will get stung, and it's usually about 30 to 60 bar, so be prepared for that. But that still works out cheaper. Isn't
there a thing called the Monopolies Commission to stop this sort of thing?
I wish. But
not in toys.
I think the quality. There's something about the Sideshow figures I do like. Even the Snake Plissken. There's something kind of action figure-y about them.
Well, the bodies have gotten better too. These ones, these are on that Prometheus body, and it's tight.
Right.
For years they had trouble with getting it. It was too loose. It was too floppy. And again, recent releases like Captain Rex and some of the other clone troopers have been much better, but these guys are absolutely perfect. There's no looseness to them whatsoever.
Cool. And Luke, you feel that Luke is a pretty good one as well, because do you get two face sculpts with Luke as well?
Well, actually, you get 3 if you get the exclusive, because you've also got the exclusive has the damaged Wampa scarred head
cool.
with the damaged scarred helmet on. So now I did try. We'll talk about the Stormtroopers, the Hot Toys Stormtroopers in a bit. Yep. But I did try popping the Luke head, the unhelmeted Luke head. I thought, this would be great. Stick it on the short Stormtrooper. Nah, the head's it fits on all right, but the head's a little too small for the bulky armor.
Really?
Doesn't quite look right.
Well, it's funny when they first released, pictures of the two Stormtroopers. I was so sure we were going to get heads, Luke and Han heads, because the size.
The size is right,
was so it was so obvious, and the fact it came with a mouse droid and everything, that's the clue. But no, it just didn't happen. Obviously, they want us to be swapping heads out in the future.
No, it's very interesting how this license is being split up now again, because it's like, we heard nothing from Sideshow for ages on the Star Wars line, and then boom, all of a sudden we get a beautiful Han, we get a bunch of Stormtroopers out like super quick, and then we get Han and Chewie coming along, and then we still have Sideshow playing. So I'm just wondering how the deal went down.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they split it up, and I certainly hope. See, we get back to this idea of what we were talking about with Age of Ultron. I hope we don't see Hot Toys fall into 50 million versions of clones and Stormtroopers. And and I want a really good Han, but I don't really want 5 Hans, and I don't really want 4 Leias and 3. You know what I mean? I'd like Greedo. I'd like a really nice Boba Fett and a really nice Jango Fett, and I'm hoping they spread it out and don't turn into the same sort of thing they've done with the Marvel line.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, though, that they, it's a no-brainer that they're going to do Boba Fett at 1/6 scale eventually. But I was quite surprised that they hit us quite so quickly with the 1/4 scale Boba Fett, which looks amazing. And of course,
that looks amazing. That does.
Anybody that isn't a quarter scale, it's one of those must-haves. But at the same time, I thought I thought they'd probably hit us with a 1/6 first and then and follow it up. But no.
Well, this will nicely segue into our stormtroopers. Then I can feel Mike there wanting to talk about
Well,
the
that
storm.
is a good two-pack. Like you were just saying about buying the two-pack of Han and Chewie being cheaper from Sideshow. If you buy one of the things that, I've been complaining about religiously for way too long now is how expensive these have gotten to be. And if you look at the single Stormtrooper from Hot Toys, which they are beautiful figures, I got to tell you, even if you have all of the Sideshow ones, these ones with the high gloss plastic, it looks fantastic. The helmet sculpt and paint detail, in photos, it's even in macro photos, it's hard to tell the difference between that helmet and a 1-to-1 scale helmet. It looks fantastic. So, and again, when you put it on top of a true type body, they really do have that natural flow that you don't get with too many other bodies. So while it's a great figure, for $200 you're getting a Stormtrooper with 7 hands, 3.5 sets altogether, the same ones, pretty standard hands, 2 blasters and a stand. And considering the reuse, right? This is what, 4 troopers now?
Yep.
Yeah.
$200. When we get to Gamora, that's the other thing I complained about with the Gamora. You're not really getting a whole lot for your money. Now the 2-pack, thank God, for $400, you get 2 more accessories. You get the other 2 blasters,
And you get the long rifle, don't you?
And the
you
mouse,
get the long rifle, and the mouse droid. You get the long rifle and the mouse droid. So that helps somewhat. And then if you get the Sideshow one, which was also $400, you get the blaster rack. So you got the little gun rack.
Oh right, I was wondering what the blaster rack was on your thingy actually.
Yeah. So at $400 for the 2 of them, finally you're actually starting to get where you're getting some money worth. But boy, I would hate to buy the singles. They're really expensive. But they're beautiful figures. You put 2 of these next to Vader in a display, and they will.
Yeah, I actually have not seen the Stormtroopers in the flesh myself, and I am dying to see them. And I fear if I see them, I'll want them. I'm kind of of the opinion that I love Star Wars as much as the next man, but I'm not what you call the die-hardest fan. I love Star Wars, but it's so kind of readily available that you kind of you just become a bit immune to getting excited about Star Wars product. And I figure I want Han and Chewie, and I figure that's kind of all the Star Wars you kind of need in your Hot Toys display. But my God, the Stormtroopers are really nice, and they're so iconic, and they're so they're white, they're pure white, and like you said, the plastic on these looks beautiful. The material,
that super high gloss finish really looks good.
The articulation is pretty neat in it as well. I mean, how well does he sit down?
Yeah, it's better on the tall version than the short. The armor's a little jammed up on the short version. If you notice in photos that the short version, I think most of the height is in the chest, and even though some of it's in the legs too. Because if you'll notice, the chest armor comes down further over the control panel sort of armor around his waist.
Yeah.
So it tightens him up a bit. His hands will pop off, or his feet will pop off a little more often when you're trying to get some deeper stances. But so the tall one, it works better. But yeah, it's the usual true type articulation. It's not nearly as restricted as you might expect from all that armor. Now,
the big question, of course, and I probably know the answer to this already myself, given what I've read. You get a short and a tall one, so the obvious conclusion is, okay, cool. So we get our we can get our Bespin Hot Toys Luke and use that head. Will that head work on this?
I'd try.
Well, strictly speaking, it won't though, will it? Because Bespin, it's after the car crash, it's after the Wampa attack.
Yeah, it's after the scar.
So really, his face had changed quite a bit. So we need them to do a farm boy tattooing Luke.
Yeah, that's why I was really hoping the Hoth Luke would work, because then you'd have a Hoth Luke of Han. The Han might work a little better. I didn't pull that one out. I just pulled out the Luke. The problem with the Luke, like I said, the neck, the post is it fits okay, but visually the neck is real thick.
Yeah, but that you kind of would expect that with 2 different manufacturers anyway. But
yeah.
What I'm on about is using a Hot Toys head on a Hot Toys Stormtrooper, and I'm wondering, will the Hot Toys Han Solo that's coming out in a few months, will we be able to pop the head off him and put it on one of these guys, on the tall?
Wouldn't it be great if they gave us the second head sculpt as an accessory?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would have been nice. Well, you got the second head sculpt with the Stormtroopers or with Han?
No, with Han. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Why would you need to get a second head sculpt with Han?
To put on the troopers and then to drive sales of the troopers.
That's true. Yeah, but will the neck joints? Do you think what's the neck joint like? Because you know the way
This is
Hot
standard
Toys
neck.
they can vary. You can have the neck, and then a separate head that's joined onto the neck, or then you can have the whole head and neck that's one piece.
Yeah, this would be the standard head that's separate because the neck is all, the double jointed neck.
Oh, okay, cool. So in theory, we might be able to.
Yeah.
In theory, all right. Well, that would be.
Yeah, because it's just a helmet that's popped on there.
It would be bad form if Hot Toys didn't include that, and hopefully we will get a. It looks like they're doing a New Hope because we got Vader from a New Hope, we got Han and Chewie from a New Hope, and what Star Wars? What's the packaging on these? What's the packaging?
And we've seen Leia, right? We've seen.
Just Star Wars in these.
The photo of Leia in the it was floating around out there on Facebook last week.
Oh, really?
Celebration. They had a picture of Leia from the back in the catalog in the white outfit. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So it stands to reason that we get a look. So we can hope, cross our fingers that there's some forward thinking here, and that we should be able to pop the Hot Toys heads on the Hot Toy Stormtroopers. Yeah.
It's got to happen eventually. I mean, there's got to be some combination of head. The whole fact they've done the two different heights. I mean, I know yes, we had lots of different heighted stormtroopers, but at the same time, yeah, it's got to happen eventually. It's just got to do.
All right. Okay. Right then. So that's the stormtroopers. Then we all really like the stormtroopers. Well, I'll have to see them in real life myself to think about. You can just feel the kind of quality by just looking at it, and it's going to be quite. Now, are they weight? Are they light? The stormtroopers? How?
No, they're fairly heavy.
Fairly heavy? Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. All right, well, heavy being the appropriate word here, the next figure we have coming up is a heavy one. Heavy as in heavy metal. And I think, as we all have this one, I think you should take this one away, Jeff. And we are on about the Hot Toys Robot Cup.
Okay. Robot Cup. I was just trying to get the remote control to work on mine, but it has this thing whereby you have to kind of, I have to, every now and then, if you leave it off for long enough, it just doesn't come on again. But there we go. I think that was a nice opener. If it would have worked on cue, it would have been even better. But no, I mean, I'm loving this figure. Like most geeks, Robocop does hold a special place in my heart. And I loved the original film when it came out back in the 80s when I was still at college. And it's a great figure. And we had a really good figure back in the early days of Hot Toys. And back then it was an amazing standout figure considering the quality of 1/6 that we were getting at the time, which was good, but it was all of a sudden a lot better. But this is another case of just showing that absolute quantum leap in detailing and quality, and the fact that parts of it are die-cast, does help if you like that kind of thing. Personally, I must admit the whole die-cast thing, it doesn't really get to me quite as much as some people. I would have been just as happy if this was plastic, but it does just have that feeling of weight and a bit more quality. But obviously there were two combinations you could get here. You could go just for the classic character on his own, or you could go for the full rig with the chair that he kind of sits in and gets recharged from and reprogrammed. And I've got that one in front of me. So the chair is. Sorry.
No, sorry, you've got the chair. I don't have the chair.
I've got the chair in front of me. And it's a nice addition. I think if you're a die-hard Robocop fan, then it's really nice to have because it's just another display. And let's face it, we know there's also a battle-damaged version of Robocop coming out as well.
That I'm getting.
Which has a lovely portrait of Peter Weller with the kind of with the face exposed, etc. So that's a again, Robocop fans must just be rejoicing at the moment because we had 209 late last year. And now we've got this to kind of like back it up. So yeah, I mean, as a figure, the articulation going back to the figure, I think is pretty good. Again, he's Robocop, so you watch him in the film, he lumbers around a lot. He's not a real action man anyway. But I think the real standout moments of articulation here, the things that have really kind of changed it, are that obviously to sit in the chair, it's very difficult for someone of this kind of build and the way he's constructed. So they have these kind of pop-out hips, a bit like they've used on the Iron Man at times, and likewise on the shoulders, they've got these pop-out kind of joints, so that you can pull them out further, and you can get a higher gun pose. But the one that's really important here, obviously, with the pop-out hips, is for getting it into the chair. So with a little bit of kind of futzing and playing around, you kind of pull the hips out, pop them out, get him into the position, then just kind of like play around with it, and you'll get him into a pretty convincing kind of like seated position. He comes with a couple of different hands. He comes with 2 posable hands, like the Iron Man, and 2 fists, and also another hand which has the spike, the kind of blade spike sticking out from it. And like Mike was saying earlier about the posable hands, they're, obviously they first kind of hit us with Iron Man, and they are really cool. I do love the posable hands, but as Mike was sort of saying earlier as well, sometimes when you do need it to be a really nice gun grip or, a particular set pose, you will fiddle a while with these to get, anything approximating a really decent grip, which is a bit frustrating. I think an extra gun grip hand would have been a nice addition here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. And he comes with 2 guns. Did the regular one come with 2 guns as well?
Yeah, I do not see the point of the 2 guns. No, it's like, could you not have just made a plastic one that fit in the leg? You may give us a steel one.
Yeah.
He can hold it with those fingers anyway. It makes no sense to have a steel gun.
Yeah, I mean,
no sense.
No, I mean, again, apparently it sits better, and it's a slightly different design. Again, I've got them sitting in front of me, and for some reason they've also got a slightly different paint job. The plastic one's got a little bit more detailing on the kind of silver of it. They both have removable. The plastic one has a removable clip. I think the metal one's just set in there.
It's a solid piece of metal. It doesn't even have the thing that slides back and forth either.
No, that's right. There's no kind of cocking mechanism. But again, the way the leg opens up is nicely engineered. But funnily enough, I don't have my original one to hand. It's kind of in storage at the moment. But I remember that being really nice as well. I mean, I'm just trying to open it up now on the new one.
It's a tough one.
It is. You kind of have to pop it forward.
It is tricky to get that open.
Yeah, especially because the knee mechanism, you have to kind of like tilt the knee slightly to get the front part of the thigh to pull forward, and then the other part kind of pulls out, and then obviously the holster kind of comes out. I seem to remember on the first one there was a really neat little bit of mechanism where as you kind of pulled it open, the holster automatically pushed itself out. Am I right in remembering that?
I do believe you're right, yeah.
Yeah, I think there was some really cool little bit of just engineering where as you opened it, it literally pushed the gun holster out. But, again, I'm a fan of the film. I'm probably not the biggest diehard fan, so I can't remember the exact mechanism of how this thing opened on screen. So I'm pretty sure that Hot Toys being what they are today, this is probably a more accurate representation of how it would have looked. But
it is nice that you can actually store the gun in the leg.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think any detail like that. It's like back in the days when I used to collect a few of the old military figures. It's the hidden details that kind of really do it for you if you're a geek. And it's kind of like if even though some U.S. Marine or somebody from the 101st Airborne, you couldn't see all the stuff in the pouches. You knew it was there. You knew all those little kind of like pen knives and compasses and grenades and kind of trenching tools. They were all kind of in there. They're all included. And it's just
well,
that.
I always think that also goes to speak to how much whoever the product manager is, how much they happen to love that license.
Exactly.
You can always tell when somebody really is personally a major nerd for some license that they're working with, because you get that kind of level of detail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really should. The love in this figure is through the roof. I mean, I'm what you call a diehard Robocop fan. I'm one of those kids that used to record I'm probably duplicating myself now because I did a review of the Enter Bay Robocop relatively recently as well, a few episodes back. So I have the luxury now of thinking. Now I have the Enter Bay one, and I honestly thought that was all the Robocop I needed because I was blown away by the Enter Bay one. Absolutely rocked, flaws and all, as I said, warts and all. I love that Enter Bay one, but I saw this Robocop in hand, the Hot Toys one. I was like, oh, damn. Then you just see the quality difference. It's just, it's tighter. I do think the Interbase one is slightly more screen accurate, but this just feels, it's just tidier. It's easier. I can rotate the head as I want. That's, with the Interbay one, I had to use the remote control every time I wanted to remove the head, and I like the idea of just moving the head naturally. It's cleaner, it's nicer. Like I said, the arms popping out, really, you can really get that gun up, really like the movie type of a way. You can really get that gun pointing at the camera in that super cool Robocop way. And he's a little bit more silver than maybe I would like.
Yeah, that was my one complaint, was that the paint job wasn't. Yeah. It was very silver.
Yeah. It's greatly dependent on what environment you have him in. I have him here now, kind of in an environment, and he looks spot on. He looks like he's straight out of a movie. But in other scenes, then he looks so silver. So it's very dependent. But the more I have him, the more and more, it's like it's awesome. I love this figure. The face plates you get with this guy are beautiful, because there's a few kind of like real kind of Peter Weller type moments in there where his mouth is kind of half open. He's got quite a distinctive mouth, Peter Weller. So he was a great choice for RoboCop, because he had that great detailed, highly detailed, sharp, crisp lower section to his face shape and lower mouth and stuff. And the faces that you get with this are absolutely beautiful. At the moment I've got the slightly half open one, because that's just, he's kind of, I just love, it's just, we walk straight out of the movie. I mean, I like the articulated fingers on this. They look a little gappy if you got a light standing behind them, but if you put the gun into his hand in a real proper way, and you really squeeze those knuckles together, and you especially squeeze that thumb in, you can get a pretty tight grip on there. You can get a pretty tight grip. Now, sure, you can knock those hands out, and they'll unopen and do a thingy. But still, I quite like that. But I totally agree that this could have been made a little bit better by giving us a gun hand. And I will say that there's no point to that steel gun at all. I don't see any point to it at all. I don't understand why you just couldn't have made the little thingy inside that little millimeter a bit fatter to accommodate the plastic one, and just have him reaching in and pulling out. Because you kind of want that. I like the idea of him reaching in and pulling it out. If I wanted to do that with a pose, I'd like him to reach into the hand and pull it out. With the steel gun, you can't really. You can do that, but the hands don't really grip the steel gun too well at all, and the steel gun just doesn't look as good, like we said. But,
if they'd given you a gun grip, that would have taken care of that.
Yeah, and exactly. This comes with a nice light up base with the OCP logo on there. And also as well, you get the voice chips, which Jeff will now kindly go through for. Go through them there, Jeffrey.
Oh, I can indeed. If it's going to work and I don't have to reset it, here we go. We have a classic.
Drop the gun, you're under arrest.
A nice one.
You're coming with me.
The essential one.
Yeah.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
That's a nice one.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night. Serve the public trust. Protect the innocent. Uphold the law.
There you
What
go.
I
think I've gone full
find
circle.
really interesting about those sound clips is the fact that I don't understand how Enterbay managed to get their sound clips without any background sound.
Yeah.
That I find perplexing, because we had the same problem with the ED209. You could hear one of the women semi-screaming in the background, slightly muffled. And you can hear that these are taken directly from the movie. And I can't understand why we couldn't have engineered that sound chips better to remove the background sound. And have it nice, clean, crisp. Alright, the Enterbay one only has 3 voice chips. Fine, but at least they're all super crisp and clean, and it sounds like he's saying it. With this, it does, because you can hear little crickety clicks in the background of the recording, it does kind of take you out of it a little bit. But you put this bad boy alongside ED209, and you are in 12-year-old first time watching Robocop heaven. Oh, it's awesome sauce. It's so good. And of course, and you get the battle damage the plates as well. You get the battle damage faceplate with the little eye popping through.
Yeah, which is sweet.
That is just the coolest thing in the world. Having the little pop out eye and stuff like that. That's going to look so cool. I hope we'll be able to put that battle damaged eye head sculpt onto the battle damage Robocop that's being released later this year.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I would have thought so, but who knows?
See, do you know what I mean? I would like to be able to do that and have him in full post ED209. I'm going about to get hammered by the cops type pose.
Yeah.
You know, that would be really nice. But as a seriously die-hard Robocop fan, if you were to ask me which Robocop to get now, the Hot Toys one or the Enterbay one, I have to go with the Hot Toys one now. I was for ages arguing on the forums. No, this is better. 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 And I was convinced that the Enterbay one was better. Looks wise, I do think the Enterbay one's a little teeny as the edge on screen accuracy, because it has the right color, and the proportions on the legs are a little bit better on the Enterbay one. But this is tidy. It's clean, it's well engineered, you get better posing out of this guy, and you're good with either of these, but I would probably go with the Hot Toys one. And again, if you've got ED209, it is seriously like the coolest thing in the world. It's one of those really cool ones. I can't take my eyes off it. It's just you sit there and you stare. And it's like, oh my god, I wish I'd had this when I was 12 years old, because I had those crappy Kenner figures. And oh my god, you stuck the gun to the side of his leg. The gun didn't look remotely like the one in the thingy. ED209 was this great brick of a thing. It's just, but you know, you made do.
Didn't the old Kenner or whatever it was? Didn't he also have like a little cap gun in his back?
That's right. Yeah, you could fire.
So you could put a roll of caps into the back of him, and like this little metal peg that you pull back and fire the caps as well.
Yeah, well, they were fun, but you know, screen accurate was not a thing that Kenner did well back then. He was a very bindly little Robocop, so this thing just pops straight out of the movie. And I must say, I got this one from our sponsors. Now, both of our sponsors have this figure at the moment, although I do think Fanboy may have just sold out. But if you're in Europe, check with Sven. Sven in space.de should still have a couple of Robocops left in stock, so do check them out. But there you go, they're a Robocop, absolutely awesome sauce figure. So, we shall take a little commercial break, and we shall be back momentarily. Stay put. Europe listeners, look no further than Space. Space, search for popular action figures and collectibles ends. The best service possible and steady accessibility by email and telephone is one of the top priorities at Space. They carry a wide range of collectibles, not only from major brands like Sideshow, Hot Toys, Enterbay, NECA and McFarlane, but they also specialise in the exotic and small new manufacturers. A very important department to them is their 1/6 scale section, which is currently getting bigger and bigger, offering lots of clothes, bodies, head sculpts and accessories. Hot Toys is of course one of their specialities, so you can pre-order all newly announced figures from their web store. They often have Hot Toys figures in stock earlier than any other dealers. They are also the best source in Europe for convention exclusives. Space loves what they do, so you can depend on them for secure packaging, ensuring your items reaches you in mint condition. In-stock items get processed normally the same day. Pre-ordering customers will be notified in advance once an item arrives in stock and before it gets shipped. Space is located in Germany and offers clearly arranged shipping flat rates to all European countries. On most destinations you can even get free shipping. For EU customers this of course means that you will not be surprised by any customs fees or import taxes. Space is serving us collectors with the finest items for over 15 years. If you're located anywhere in Europe, do go to Space. www.space-figures.com. Okay, and we're back. So, let's get back on to more Action 1/6 reviews, and I believe we're going to discuss the Steed from Azmus, the Azmus Nazgul Steed. Is it the Steed, or is it the Nazgul and the Steed? Are we going to talk about
I just have the Steed. I don't know about anybody else.
I don't know.
I bought the Steed because I had the other Nazgul Lord from them earlier.
Right,
so I didn't really need another Nazgul.
Okay, so well, give us a run.
Although if I was a true Lord of the Rings fan, I suppose I'd need 8 more, right?
Yeah, you probably would,
exactly,
just to be consistent.
But yeah, the Steed, you know, I picked up the Steed with real high hopes, particularly because I want to also, you know, they're also doing the regular white horse and the regular black horse and a regular brown horse.
That's right.
And I thought, you know, grab one of them white horses for Indy and grab a brown horse for Planet of the Apes. And, you know, there's a lot of potential for some characters that we've got in 6 scale and we don't have horses for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I picked up the Nazgul one to partner with the earlier Nazgul Lord and see how they were doing. And I got to admit, I'm pretty disappointed in it. It's a good looking sculpt. I do like the work they did on the head. It has a flocked body, which worked well.
Oh, right.
It is a nice soft flocking. It looks good. I thought they did a nice job with the hair on the tail and the mane. But they went with this articulated body where you've got joints at the top of the legs and at what you would consider the mid joint, the horse elbow there, as well as at the feet, at the ankles, and the feet are very close together. Which makes it very difficult to find any poses. It's very hard to keep them standing. They tend to wobble and fall over. It's just not. It doesn't feel like it has the same quality as what we've seen with some of the other Azmus releases. So I'm hoping that we'll see that get better over time. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed with Steed.
It's quite difficult to articulate. You know, the articulation of a horse is so complex. I mean, I remember from, and I'm sure you have, even when you've ever had to illustrate or draw a horse, you know, the anatomy of a horse is a very complex thing, and the way that it all kind of works. And I've got some of the old kind of, you know, Action Man type horses and stuff. I've picked up so many of them over the years at kind of car boot sales and stuff. Because every time I see a 1/6 scale horse, I think, buy it. It's going to come in handy for something somewhere. And so you kind of like, I've got like a box full of them, and some of them are in good condition, some of them aren't so much, but they're good things to have. But I remember back in the day, you know, you might remember this, Mike. I can't remember the name of the company that made them, but it was back in the kind of mid-70s, and I remember having it for one Christmas. They did like a Lone Ranger and Tonto, and you could get silver.
Gabriel did the Lone Ranger and Tonto that were in the smaller scale, the 9-inch figures.
Yeah, they were about 9 inches, and the horses were beautifully articulated. They like everything moved on them. The only thing they
stand really well.
Exactly, and the only thing they lacked was from the hips any kind of outwards movement, any kind of sideways movement. But that said, they were well engineered enough that they stood well anyway. You know, you could have a trotting position, you could bring the front hoof up, you could even have a stand so you could get silver into that kind of hi-ho, silver and away kind of pose. And they were beautifully designed, and even the neck moved forward, and the chin kind of moved up, and they were just really beautifully engineered. It's funny how here we are all these years later, and I still remember back to those toys that I had, and sadly don't anymore, and kind of remember them thinking, well, if they could do it so well back then, why can't they get it right now?
Yeah, and it just seems like, you know, they didn't really design the sculpt around having the articulated legs. There's just not enough girth to the horse. You know, it brings the feet very close together, making it really hard to get good center of gravity when you're trying to get some reasonable poses. And it even seemed like a couple of the legs are shorter than a couple of the other ones. It just didn't. It wasn't well designed. It wasn't well engineered. They missed the boat on this one, and it is disappointing because at the time when they first announced them, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, they'd be a lot better if I couldn't see those joints. Those joints are ugly, blah blah blah." And I was saying, well, you know, that's really great. I want to be able to pose them. I want to be able to do different kinds of, you know, running poses, and then, you know, I get it, and I think, well, I think you would have been a lot better off if you'd just gone with sculpted feet.
Yeah. It's awkward because, I mean, I have to admit, you know, I'm a bit of an articulation junkie. And I think if you can throw articulation, I'd rather have that, even if it is visible. I don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind the visible part.
Yeah, exactly. But but if it doesn't work, then, you know, it's a moot point anyway.
I mean, I'm cool with articulation as long as it doesn't kind of interfere too much with the silhouettes. It's things like that I don't like. I mean, I can see here on the Azmus thing now. There's a side picture here now, and look at your devices, people, and you can see that you know, it does upset the silhouette a little bit. So essentially what we're saying is this is not as good as like the Swift Wind you got with She-Ra.
No, I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. You've got the She-Ra Swift Wind, Mike, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but I haven't opened it up.
Oh, well, that's a good horse.
Yeah,
that's a
I bet
fine
it is.
pony. It is. No, it is actually. The articulation of that works, and it stands really well in many different places.
Well, this one reminded me of a not very good. You know, the articulation on this wasn't as good as what we used to see in the 1970s with the Best of the West horses. Yeah. So that, you know, I played with those a lot, and that the flocking is great, and again the sculpting is great. The saddle and everything was nice, but yeah, if you can't get him to stand, what's kind of the point?
Yeah, that's kind of the point. Do you get a little? Do you get a little stand to kind of prop him up like that to keep him on a?
You get a stand that's if you look in the photos, it's a weird stand. I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking you were going to do with it. I suppose you might find a way to use it up underneath. It's sort of a clamp stand. So, I mean, how do you clamp it to a horse? I did it from the side on one of the legs, so you can kind of do it from the backside on one of the legs. But it's a weird. It doesn't seem like it's well designed for the horse.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
am I right in thinking the eyes light up? Do they?
No.
Oh, they don't. Oh, right. I thought.
Oh no! Wait a minute. You're right. They do. Sorry.
Oh, they do. Right.
Yes, they do light up, and you can see them through the cloth.
That's quite nice. Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures there now.
Now that you mentioned that, I remember that because I complained loudly about being able to getting to the batteries is almost impossible. You have to take off all of that, the leather up around his neck. You have to untie all of that if you ever have to change the batteries. Yeah, the battery compartment is buried. You can get to the switch easy enough, but the battery compartment's buried.
That sounds almost as frustrating. I mean, I think the worst. Sorry, I'm changing the subject. The worst battery changeover ever had to be the Nostromo astronauts. Oh my god, that was just like a trial by it was horrible.
What, the Hot Toys one? Because I've got one.
Yeah, the Hot Toys one. Yeah.
I if you change the battery on them.
If you have to change the batteries out or take them out just for storage, it's not a pleasant experience.
Oh god, do you guys take the batteries out of all your figures?
No.
not all those.
I forget, man. I really forget. That
Yeah,
is my
no, I don't
longer
take them
thing.
out.
It's probably wise that we should, though. Yeah.
We should, yeah, because I've heard a few horror stories of people have said that they've stored them, and because I think the free batches that come with a lot of the Hot Toys stuff aren't of the best quality, and they do tend to erupt a little after a few years.
Yeah, they do. Well, while we're on Lord of the Rings, I may as well squeeze it in, and then we'll get onto Voldemort, onto Harry Potter's Voldemort. But while we're on Lord of the Rings, there is the ACI Toys Aragorn figure, and none of you guys have that one yet, do you?
No.
Are you guys expecting it at any stage or anything? Should we save it, or...?
Yeah, I have the ACI.
You have the ACI Aragorn?
Yeah.
Oh, you
and there's
guys
some
go.
beautiful, lovely artwork on the inside of the box.
Yes! Tell us about the lovely artwork and the lovely packaging. That's full packaging here, Mike. Not just the artwork, it's the whole thing. The whole thing.
Well, but it's the one on the inside is really nice because it's signed and it's got the artist's name in the bottom right corner. It's a nice rendition of Aragorn.
I heard he's a right tool of a fella. I heard he's a right he's a right old black art. Now, in case anyone's wondering, I actually did do the packaging. I was very lucky to be asked by ACI to do packaging for them. And the one license they did get of like a movie license that they got, and they're getting more. There is more coming from ACI in terms of movie licenses. Cool. Yeah, and there's a few. I've already been kind of given a briefing from them. Oh, yes, that one, yes, please. But I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so getting this gig was really, really, really nice. So I did the packaging and the full box design and the internal illustration as well of Aragorn. I used that standard kind of cool one that he had, which was not an easy thing to draw because in the movie, that the angle is a different thing. Anyway, I won't go into it, but this is a lovely figure. This is a really, really nice figure. Have you opened them yet, Mike?
I opened him but have not yet reviewed him.
Oh, okay. Well, would you like to maybe hold off fire? We'll do it next time, or will we just...
Sure, that would work.
Okay, well, we'll hold fire next time. But we'll just talk about the box for now, because it's great, and I did it. I did the
box is a work of art.
Pat me on the head.
Can I pick your brains from it though? Because obviously I know from you're not going to be able to give anything away for future licenses, but just knowing their history of working in kind of more fantasy realms and kind of historical, can we expect it to go in that direction, or are we looking at possibly something more modern? I don't know.
Both.
Both. Oh, right. Okay. Because I'm just interested because obviously I know what they've done in the past, and they've done some more interesting kind of urban figures as well. More sort of design vinyl-y stuff. But I just wondered, if they wanted to stay in that arena of kind of sword and sandals and epic fantasy type of stuff, or whether they were considering going off more into the kind of different licenses, sci-fi or that kind of stuff.
I can say that both.
Both. Okay. Well, that's cool because that doesn't give anything away. That's just saying exactly what you need to.
Yeah, so it's quite nice. It's nice being able to do little things like that, and to be able to actually sit down and cool box design and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm working on the Knight Templar at the moment from them as well. So that's the Knight Crusader. It's a Templar Crusader I'm doing at the moment for them. And so there and there's more on the way as well. So it's pretty cool. But we'll save the actual figure review of Aragorn for one of the coming episodes when Mike gets him, because we can have a bit more of an educated review on him there. He's kind of a hard one to get though. So I mean, I don't know how relevant the review will be, but if people want him, they will find him, and they will probably have to pay a little bit over the odds to get him. But we will move on swiftly on to Voldemort then. Harry Potter's Voldemort. Now, I'm not really too familiar with this character. I did see the last few minutes of the movie over Christmas and stuff like that, because they're nice Christmassy movies. You leave them on in the background. I'm not a Harry Potter fan, so I've got no real connection with this character, but as far as I can see, it's a pretty good looking... I know who that is. That's a pretty good looking Voldemort. He does have a bit of the fines in him there, a little bit.
Yeah, I think they did an excellent job with the head sculpt. You get two heads. You get the kind of, moderately pissed off look, and then you get the seriously pissed off look.
Yeah.
I will admit that in the head sculpt where he is sort of doing that screaming expression that he used on occasion in battle, it does look a little horsey to me, right? You know how
weird.
a horse will have the teeth kind of stick out a little bit further than the gums or the lips. And that kind of looks to me, it's kind of like he's got those big teeth sticking out a bit from the lips. So it's not my favorite look. I like the regular head sculpt a little better, the kind of the slightly more standard expression. But he is a fantastic figure. I mean, you can get the amount of posability. I'm really liking the Star Ace body that they're using. The neck is a little better here than it was with Steve McQueen. I complained there that it was a little difficult to get much tilt or lean action out of the neck. It's a little better here with Voldemort. And the rest of the body is super tight. Because he's not wearing shoes, you get the full range of movement in the ankles. And they've even included this extension to the cape so that it's sort of like, there's a few scenes where his cape, in a very Todd McFarlane way, sort of has that life to it, sort of like a Spawn cape. And he kind of shoots out with, extensions on the cape. So they include this material that you can run through the cape itself, and there's a couple of magnets in the back of the body and some metal in the cape that will then attach it in back. And you can pose it quite well. There's wires that run through that extension, and you can pose it quite well, surprisingly. So the magnets could be a little tighter, could be a little stronger, but you can get it to work pretty well. Hands all swap easily. You get a nice assortment. You get the wand looks good. You get 2 wands. You get his standard wand, and then you get Dumbledore's wand as well. But yeah, excellent figure. I was really happy with him. Did you get a chance to play around with one, Jeff?
No. I said the only Harry Potter figures I've got are some really old ones that came out when the film came out, and they were kind of 1/6, but much more kind of Barbie-like. I got the Medicom Harry. I wish I'd got the Medicom's Snape as well, because he looked really cool. But
yeah,
I'm
the
sure Star
Medicom
Race
Harry is pretty weak. I have him too.
It is, yeah.
He's pretty god awful.
I mean,
but they did do a nice job on
cheap,
Snape.
Yeah. I mean, I picked Harry up really cheap, basically for my eldest daughter, because she's a huge Harry Potter fan. So, I mean, I'd love to have got the Star Race stuff. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. I like it, but I'm not, really into it. But if it had been just a little cheaper, I might have considered picking it up for Willow. But as it is, I've just kind of like left it. But
well, fortunately, these are below Hot Toys prices. So
they are, yeah.
I think Snape is around 180, wasn't he? Something like that.
Something
maybe
in that kind of like.
In that sub 200 range. And now we've got Sirius Black, who should be shipping here very soon. Will be the next figure, and they've also announced Hermione. So
there was another kind of I'm going to say bootleg. I don't know who the company were, but I remember about a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, somebody did a bootleg Voldemort. And it came with 2 head sculpts, and it came with some hand selections and a wand, and I think the cloak, but you didn't get a body, so it was basically one of those kind of deals. But I remember at the time just thinking, God, that was a really good deal. It was only about sort of $60, $70 or whatever, and I considered buying that again for Willow at the time. But then I thought, well, it's another bootleg, and you're helping prop up an industry that shouldn't really be doing this stuff. So I didn't bother in the end. But that looked really impressive as well. So I think it's one of those sculpts where I think, really, any kind of sculptor worth his salt, it's one of those sculpts you should be able to kind of like approach, because it's an actor, but and you know that it's Ray Fiennes under there, but at the same time it's important that you get the kind of the look of the character across. And I think he's got that kind of look where I would have thought a lot of good sculptors should be able to get that without it being too much of a press on their...
Yeah, so far the one that's really impressing me from the early photos is Sirius.
Yeah.
He's really an impressive looking figure, so we'll see how he comes out.
I really like the texture on this guy's face. It looks he's very photoreal. It's like I look at that face sculpt and I'm just like, that's a really good face sculpt. I mean, you want to get into it a magnifying glass and maybe look at the eyes and just compare. But I mean, I'd be fooled to that head sculpt. That was a Hot Toy head sculpt, not the screamy one. The
screamy one, the teeth are a little wacky, but yeah, as far as the skin texture and the coloration, because he's also got the real fine veining.
Yeah, that's what I'm particularly looking at there on the side.
You have to see it in just the right light, but he's got that real fine blue veining in his head, and that is really hard to pull off.
Yeah, that's
lovely
stuff.
Yeah, that kind of subtle kind of like picking out of veins is something that it can go very wrong if you're heavy-handed. But so to get it right is really nice.
It looks like it's printed on that stuff, though, the kind of veiny stuff there. I think some of the stuff there's like print. I think they are printing onto, like they did with like Avatar Jake Sully, for instance. They seem to be able to print stuff now into the figures. And looking at the pictures there on again. Look at your devices, folks. I didn't put these on for the good of my heart. For I put it on for your good, not for my own. It takes ages to put those flipping pictures up. But if you look at your device, you can see the lovely veins in the head, and I really like that. It's a nice. I've got no affinity for the figure whatsoever, but it's a handsome looking figure. You get the nice little firework thingy with him as well. The kind of
yep. You get the hot hands.
Yeah, that's nice. See, stuff
Which,
like that's nice.
I can't. You've watched Dark Lord Funk, right? I can't even hear that song anymore without thinking Dark Lord Funk video.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's
lost
terrible.
Me there.
That's terrible. You guys are just, you're so out of it.
Are we dodging a bullet there? We are? Okay. All right, well, that's there you go. That's Star Ace's Voldemort there. So we will slightly deviate now from 1/6 We will go on because I know Mike is chomping at the bit to talk about these. These are the 1/12 Dark Knight Returns Batman figures. From Mezco.
I want to bring these up because, all right, they're not 6th scale, but these are an interesting foray that Mezco is making into the, and the line is called 1/12. So it's the word 1 spelled out with a colon and then the number 12 collection.
Yep.
And what they're trying to do here is, we've seen a lot of companies go with that nostalgic route, sort of with the 8-inch figure, a lot of nostalgic Mego type, cloth. But they've improved some of the articulation, but they still really are trying to go for a Mego look. That is not what Mezco is trying to do here. These are technically a 6-inch scale. They're kind of cheating a little on that because Batman comes in at about almost 7 inches tall. But the idea here is to bring to that scale what Hot Toys and Enterbay and other companies have brought to the 1/6 scale. Yeah. The kind of quality and the kind of high-end feel to these figures. And they started with, they announced these last year at Comic-Con, and they showed off Batman, and they have a whole bunch of licenses that they theoretically could go down with this format. The Batman is of course, Dark Knight Returns version. And as far as scale goes, if you have the one that Mattel did in the DCU line that was used, the He-Man body.
Yep.
That's almost identical in size. So it's almost that same size.
All right. Okay, cool.
They've gone with a microfiber, micromaterial costume that's really super thin but super high quality. So you actually have, the cape, which is a very thin flowing cape. You have the suit, and then you have his little undies. So you actually have more than one layer, and yet it looks really good in this scale. There is the paint and sculpt are amazing. They're really outstanding work. This is a new body, of course, that they've developed for this scale, and the posability is exceptional. They've really done a nice job. It comes with a stand, so you can get sort of the jumping poses, but the stand has sort of an octopus set of arms that stick out the back. That have little clips on the end that you can attach to the cape, so then you can spread the cape out without need of having wires or any of that sort of thing. And it's really cool. It comes with a ton of hands. They did 3 versions of the Batman. They did one version which was their standard release. He's a black and gray costume. He has the big black, large bat symbol on his chest. There's 2 heads that are included with each one, so there's one that's sort of the standard pissed off look, and then one that's a grimacing look. So that's sort of the standard, black and gray version. The second one they came out with was a Previews, PX exclusive. It has a gray costume again, but it's a much lighter blue, and then they went with the yellow oval with the black symbol in it. Mm-hmm. They swapped up the accessories a little bit. The standard release comes with the holster on his leg. So you have a swappable lower leg with the holster on it and the handgun. The Previews exclusive does not have that, but it has a belt for his thigh, the yellow belt for his thigh with the pouches, as well as a rifle. And then there's a third version, which was a Mezco Direct exclusive, that was the large black bat symbol again, but this time in a darker blue cowl and cape. And it sort of combined the accessories of the other 2. It has the gun and the boot, but it also has the rifle and the belt. So, cool. So there's 3 exclusives. They kind of combined them all. They've pretty much sold out everywhere at this point. They blew through them. They were around $65 for the figures.
Is that how much they are? I was about to ask that. $65. So I guess that would be what over here, Mike, then, or Jeff? That'd be like, I guess, be 50 quid.
40, 50 quid. Yeah. The trouble is, to be honest though, Eamon, it doesn't translate the way it should.
Yeah.
But you'll probably find it 65 quid.
Yeah, it'll probably be 65 quid one. Yeah, that's the same, because it's like sometimes $20 figures or £20 over here.
Exactly.
But everything about this figure, you can tell that they're going for that higher end look and feel. Like even the box. The box has an exterior slip cover that's a clear plastic, and they printed the standard cover from Dark Knight Returns with the black Batman silhouette in front of the lightning bolt. So they printed the black Batman silhouette on the outer slip cover with the lightning bolt on the actual box itself, so there's depth to the package, the way it looks in the package. It's all collector friendly. Of course, you can take everything out and put it all back in again without having to damage anything. And the figure just has that sturdy, it's really a sturdy, well-made figure. It's a lot of fun to pose. You can, it's just a great figure. I'm really pleased with it. I'm really happy with where they're going. Now, can they continue this? Clearly the first release here has been successful. They're doing Judge Dredd as their second character.
I was just
really?
about to actually
Oh,
say
cool.
that Judge Dredd would be perfect in this style.
Yeah, so they've already announced 2 versions of that. There's a previews exclusive and then the regular release, and you can pre-order those now. It should be shipping before Comic-Con. And then they've talked about a whole bunch of licenses. They have Star Trek. You could do that really well in this scale because, again, the costumes aren't super layered.
Oh, I'd love some Star Trek.
Universal Monsters they've talked about. They've got a ton of licenses.
Yeah.
Now, where they'll go with it, they're still keeping kind of hush-hush. But they're clearly going to go somewhere with it because this first Dark Knight Batman did so well. He has blown out of there, and I think beyond their expectation.
I must admit that I wasn't aware they were doing Dread, and that has just given me a bit of a geekasm. So that would be one that
Well, and I've bought. I ordered the Dread from them, and I've also ordered because 3A is doing Dread in the 6-inch scale, right?
Is that actually happening now?
Yeah. Well, they've only announced Judge Death.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So I ordered the Death from them and the Dread from Mezco, and we'll see how the 2 styles sort of marry up. But at least the scale will be similar.
And of course, the other thing that's quite interesting, it was only recently released that Frank Miller is doing a Dark Knight 3, isn't he?
Yeah, he's doing a 3rd series.
Yeah, so that's
another good merchandising opportunity there. I mean, you have sold this pretty well to me, Mike. I have to say, I wasn't blown away by this when I saw it. I was like, it looks a little deformed, it's a bit thingy, but I'm also aware that this is based specifically on a very chunky, the Frank Miller style.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's the Frank Miller style Batman, aged.
I'll have to see what the Dread looks like. I think I've seen a Dread, and again, I wasn't particularly blown away. Only because it's just, at this size, I look at that stitching, and I just see big stitching on a small item, and that kind of slightly throwing me a little bit. But I think this is something that could be refined over time. I don't know, because now we see Hot Toys can get some crazy tiny stitching in there. We think we got the.
Well, you don't notice the stitching in person. You're looking at macro for photos, and I haven't noticed it really at all in person when you're actually holding the figure in your hands.
Right. I'd like to see one in hand actually before I cast the opinion. I'm curious to see where this kind of thing can go, because there does appear to be a demand out there for high end figures, but people don't want to be spending over 200 quid for them, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's nice that there are opportunities now for people to still get something that's nice and high end, that comes in a nice case, because it does make a difference when you get something like that in a beautiful packaging case like that. It does make it feel a bit special. It's like, you've got something that's nice. It's not just something you just picked up off the rack. This is a nice special gift that you have, or a nice item that you have. So I'm all for that. The paint job on the belt looks really good and things. I can see I can see that it's tight. I can see everything is tight. So like, on those forearms there that he has now, so you pop off the hand, would that glove then kind of come off then?
You can take the gauntlet off, yeah.
Take the gauntlet off. So pretty much just, right, okay. It's pretty much like you imagine then.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm very curious to see where they can go with this. I think the possibilities are quite interesting where they can take this.
Well, I think it's really cool that somebody's taking the effort to make something with this much love and attention to detail, this much articulation. They obviously love what they're doing. We know Mezco do that anyway. But it's kind of like you're opening a whole arena to people who are just feeling so priced out of the whole Hot Toys situation, and it's that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like all of a sudden you can get some really cool comic book representations of characters that you love. And they're great. They look really cool. They're really well articulated. They've got some nice accessories, and it just opens up a whole new collecting kind of area for people. And it's funny how once this happens, other people sit up and take notice and thinking, "Whoa, hang on, perhaps we should be working on that scale. Perhaps we should be doing some stuff." Because it's funny how quickly the way people buy and the way people collect can change very quickly if something new comes along that people are excited by.
So, yeah. I will hopefully see what one looks like in hand. I do like the hand you get with all the little batarangs in his fingers.
Yeah,
that was cute. And those batarangs are very sharp, very stiff.
Cool. It's nice. Very nice.
In
Very
fact,
nice.
So yeah, it's really nice. I am very interested to see where they go with it. There's a lot of potential with it. I'm also very interested to see what happens when they try to do more layers.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody in a suit, or they've got to get creative on how they're going to do that. And but there are fabrics now that we didn't have before. That that are when you're spending that much money that are available to them to use that aren't available if you're trying to do a $20 action figure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm just thinking, whilst we've gone off topic, scale-wise, quickly. I mean, there was one other thing I could mention. I don't know if it was worth doing now. Was that Blitzwave done the extra, the new Bruce Lee statue as well? Don't know if any of you guys have seen that.
No.
No.
Is that the third scale one?
Yeah, it's the 1/3 scale one. I mean, should I save that for another time? I mean, I just thought
because I'd like to
gone off
cover
topic.
that actually, because they got the Marilyn Monroe as well on there. And
They're
quite nice. So,
cool.
have you got that in hand, Jeff?
I do. Yeah, I have the statue. In fact, I'm writing it up at the moment, and I'll be whistling that off to Michael soon.
Okay, well,
But,
maybe we'll give us a little quick preview then of the Blitzwave. What
Well,
scale
no,
is it again?
It's 1/3 scale, so this thing is a behemoth. I mean, it's bloody huge, and it weighs a ton. When the box arrives, I mean, like the last one, I got the Game of Death one, and now obviously we've got this one, the Enter the Dragon, and the box is massive, and it's like you've had a new TV delivered or whatever. But the thing that's really interesting on the new one is that, unlike the first one, which had obviously the yellow jumpsuit, so you only had the head and the hands really on show, this one's got the whole upper torso on show. So they've very cleverly hidden the jawline where they've met the face to the rest of the body. But the skin tone is beautifully done. I mean, I have to admit, when I very first saw the promo pics, I don't think the paint job on the upper body is as hot as it looked on those promo pics, but it's still bloody good. I mean, when you compare it to a lot of other companies that are making statues at larger scales, sometimes the paint is a little bit less than you'd hope for. But the paintwork on the face is absolutely outstanding. It's up there with kind of like the best work Blitzwave have done, and certainly the sort of stuff that Enterbay and Hot Toys do at this scale. The only thing that looks a little weird, and it's the same really as when Enterbay did the 1/4 scale, is that because the claw marks from Hand's blade are so kind of precise, they do look kind of nowadays a little bit cartoonish, but that's because obviously when it was made in the 70s, that was just the way they were represented. So they've tried to be accurate to the source material rather than trying to make them look ultra realistic. So that it works well. I think it works well, but it's kind of it could have been a little bit more realistic if they'd have kind of like gone for that kind of feel rather than just being source material.
Now, do me a favour, Jeff. Is the box readily available to you? Is it there beside you or anything?
It's not readily available to me, no.
Because I'm curious to see who did the head sculpt on that, because I looked at who did the head sculpt on the Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, this is by oh god, his name's gone out of my head now, and he's the absolute classic guy that always does these things. His name's gone out of my head.
I thought it was Yuli who did the Marilyn Monroe.
No, it's somebody. Is it YJ Park? I think might have done Marilyn. I'm not sure. Didn't he used to work for Enterprise? I'm not sure. Again, I will have to check that.
I just friended on Facebook.
But no, this one is Arnie Kim, of course. That's why it's just gone out of my head there. Senior moment. But Arnie Kim did this sculpt as he did the last one. And it seems like, he seems to be the go-to guy with friending Bruce Lee. I mean, it seems like the license follows him more than it follows a company.
That's what I was asking. I find this quite interesting what's happening in the dynamic.
I think he has quite a good connections with the estate, and I think he knows Bruce Lee's ex-wife and daughter and stuff. And so I think he's kind of well in there. So it tends to be the where he goes, the license goes. But no, as I say, just as a quick recap, I'd say if you want an impressive statue, for me the Game of Death one is still probably got the edge because it's just such the iconic outfit. Yeah. But I know Enter the Dragon is a lot of people's favourite Bruce Lee film. So from that perspective, this is a brilliant, it's a brilliant representation. I mean, they've really done the skin tones well, and even like they did with Enterbay as well. But Blitzwave have done it, I think, even better here. They've got drip, sort of little kind of rituals of sweat, little drips of sweat all over the body, and it kind of like again that kind of picks out really nicely. And I can't fault it. I think it's the sculpt is perfect. The paint work is outstanding on the face and good on the rest of the body, and it's a nice pose, and it's a very imposing piece. It's got this huge base and it's very heavy, so I think it's pretty cool.
We'll have to. I'll have to grab a couple of pictures of that.
I'll send you some over.
Yeah, please send me over some SB so we can put them on our little device for people to see what we're talking about. Okay, so swiftly moving on, lads. We're up against the clock here a little bit. Let's squeeze in. So, Hot Toys Gamora. Could we do it? We'll give Star Lord a quick shout out. He's nice. He's lovely. You agree, Mike? Is he nice? He's lovely, Star Lord.
Nice figure.
Yeah, I don't have any of the Guardians figures yet.
I
but,
prefer the helmeted head to the Chris Pratt head. I thought the Chris Pratt head's a little I don't know, maybe boring, or it's not quite. But you want Star Lord in the mask anyway.
Yeah, you do, and the eyes light up red is great.
Yep.
It's a really nice figure.
Great costume.
Great costume. I love the layers on the outfit. The way it's got relief on the leather jacket. I love all that stuff. He's got the little jets on his boots.
The damage to the jacket is well done. Yep.
He's a very handsome figure. He's different on your shelf as well, which is quite nice as well. And I got the exclusive version. My girlfriend got him for me for Christmas. I was lucky to get him for Christmas. And I got the orb with my one. Now, I thought that was really a rather pitiful little extra to be having for the exclusive, because it is the tiniest little piece of plastic. And yet it doesn't come with a regular figure, and yet the whole movie's about the orb. And no other, as far as I can see,
weird.
None of the other Guardians figures come with the orb. So I'm a bit,
I don't know.
which as far as I'm aware, I don't think any other ones come with the orb. So I'm a bit like missed as to why the orb isn't included with the regular ones. But the orb is nice. You get a satchel. You can put a satchel in the back. It comes with he comes with a set of handcuffs as well. What I would have liked would have been an optional shorter leather jacket to go with him.
That would have been cool. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people cutting it down and doing.
Oh, really?
Doing kind of like their own versions of it. Yeah, but it's kind of like, it seems quite,
Because they've actually on the inside, Jeff, they've actually tailored what looks like a shorter jacket on the inside. There's like a layer on the inside. And it's a nicely layered jacket. They've got little layers everywhere in it. But there's like a little layer that does it like it's the internal short jacket. So I just think they would have gone down there. The Chris Pratt head sculpt is nice from the front, but it's a weird thing. It's the same problem I had with the side profile on Black Widow. Sculpting these heads doesn't like craniums much, because if you look at the side of Chris Pratt's head sculpt, you can see that he's actually got a very small cranium. And I know Chris Pratt had a bigger cranium than that. I'm a big sucker for cranium. I like a good cranium, me. I'm all about the cranium. So if you look at Chris Pratt from the side, his head, the back of his head, it's a little bit too small for me. And it was the same thing I had with Black Widow as well. She was all face and not much by the way a skull. I like a good skull, man. Good skull's important. Right, Gamora. Now, I know you're dying to talk about this one, Mike, because you've got a few issues.
Well, I'm not dying. I'm moderately ill, but not dying. I'm not super thrilled with Gamora, largely because for two reasons. Number one, if we get back to this $200 for not Jack, right? You're getting a handful of hands. You're getting the sword in the open and the folded up sort of fashion, so she can put it on her belt.
Yep.
And you're getting a stand that is supposed to represent a ship grate, the flooring grate, and it's not even a sculpted one. It's just a printed.
Yeah, it's the same when you get with Star Lord.
Yeah. So, but at least with Star Lord, you get a shitload of extras. Here, you're not getting much of it. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, you're getting some hands, and you're getting the weapon in two different states for your $200. Now, on the plus side, and the other problem that she has is she can't stand for crap, right?
There is that. That is, I will completely agree with you on.
If you're a stand person, if you like using the crotch stands, if you don't mind using them even for like a simple standing pose, then you're fine. You won't care. But to me, it's not really a well articulated figure if it won't stand on its own.
Agreed.
And practically at all. So that's a big problem for her. I love the costume. It's a great looking costume. They did an excellent job on the mesh. I don't have a big problem with the rubber on the body. I do know that over time, those elbows are probably going to have a problem. But out of the box, she looks great. Yep. But that costume is highly restrictive. It really does make it very difficult for her to stand in practically any sort of slightly dynamic pose. I do like the hair. The rooted hair, I think they're getting better and better with it. I think there are, again, this sort of goes back to that, some people are just always going to hate Sideshow no matter what Sideshow does. Somebody are going to always hate rooted hair no matter what it looks like. They're going to have an attitude that it's a doll, and they don't collect dolls. Get over it. They're just going to have to deal with that. But the reality is rooted hair is getting better and better, and I think Gamora is another step forward. It's thick. It has product in it right out of the box. You can use some more on it. You can style it. It looks really good. Now, and the face, I do think it kind of falls into that mannequinish look to her. She's a little dead in the eyes, but it's a beautiful head sculpt. It's clearly her, and it's very pretty. She's definitely a beautiful woman. Yep. I just wish it had a little more life in the eyes.
I agree with you on that one. But I mean, if you do look at some of the photographs of her, Zoe Saldana, she does have kind of a dead eye in some of these photographs. She does have a slight kind of thing. It's the heavy. She's got these quite heavy set eyebrows. You see there to kind of go over, and it gives her that kind of look. But I do see what you mean. It is. She's a little lifeless. But I'm just wondering, is that them just adhering strictly to? Because
I don't know. It's weird. They capture it sometimes, and other times they don't. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, and it's a subtle thing. Right? I think if you look at Tonto, it's a great example because the picture of Johnny Depp on the box and their head sculpt, if you hold them side by side, it's all in the eyes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The picture on the box looks like a real person because the eyes have some expression to them. They're they're slightly closed. There's a life to them. You look at the one on, the actual head sculpt you get, and it looks like a mannequin in a store. They're kind of this dead look to the eyes. And I think that's what's happening with her. Now, other times we'll get, like we talked earlier about Thor, which is, an outstanding. That last version of Thor was an
Wow.
outstanding
Yep.
head sculpt. Those are very lifelike looking eyes. You could mistake that for a person. So, it comes and goes.
It does. On the plus sides on her as well, though, I do like the colors on her skin. I think it's very you feel the makeup of the movie on her there a little bit. I really do like that. I really like the rubber arms. I think it's a nice way of doing things, but the fact it's kind of self-defeating in a certain way as well, because it's like even in the instructions said, yeah, don't keep the elbow bent for too long because it'll cause it to rub. So you really can't have her bent in the elbows, and she does get some nice poses in the elbows.
Yes, she does, and she can hold them.
And she can hold them, which is great because some of the other figures I mean, I remember like Marcus Wright. His
Right.
hands would just bend back down again. It wouldn't do a
Yeah.
thing. This is nicely done. The color on them is beautiful. But the fact that you can't keep her bent in an elbow shape for long enough is kind of like, that's kind of annoying. However, I will say to people that put the arm straight up and you can have the blade straight out, and she looks pretty cool that way as well. I will completely agree with you, Mike, that the biggest problem I have with her is the ankle articulation. I do like giving my girls a certain kind of cool hip stance. I have here at the moment on a hip stance, and I've managed. You can kind of bend them a little bit. I can't help but feel that if you maybe dipped it in hot water, you'd be able to articulate that leg a bit more. But it's quite hard plastic. It's quite hard plastic. And
From the knee down, it's pretty much solid.
Yeah, from the knee down, it's pretty much solid. And just the fact that she's got these platform boots on, and there is no give to them at all. I really liked one of the other figures where they made a point of making very soft material around the ankles, and it could bend quite well. I think that was a Captain America. Wasn't that the Winter Soldier Captain America?
Yeah, also with the Black Widow figures. I mean, the very first Black Widow, although she really lacked, the face sculpting, and she was too bulky, she was too big, physically too big, they gave her some great boots, really soft, kind of tailored boots, so you could really get some kind of like wide, the legs could be kind of like in different dynamic poses, and you could always plant the feet firmly on the ground. And then the second one came along, which was so much more better in every respect, apart from the fact that boots were solid and you couldn't get it to do anything. So it's kind of like it was. On the female figures especially, it really bothers me because you do want your girls, because you can really make a bad pose on a female make the figure look really bad. Sometimes a pose can make or break.
And
the
some
figure.
people, they don't mind using, they're going to use the stands all the time anyway, and so they figure, well, what difference does it make? If I have to use a stand, I'm going to use the stand anyway.
Yeah.
But for me, you can't really claim it's a well-articulated figure if the only way it stands is with a display stand.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you there. It is a major problem for me. I've got the the Days of Future Past Wolverine just literally a couple of days ago. Delighted with that figure, and he stands really well. I don't like posing my because I like seeing the silhouette of the figure. I don't like having a big pole in between their legs that upsets the silhouette of the figure.
I don't like stands either. It
Yeah.
seems to defeat the purpose of having a figure that looks real.
Yeah,
Yeah, you go to all that pain to make something as accurate as the put, and then you stick it on the stand, and it does. For me personally, it destroys it as well. I never use them unless I have to.
It does. I completely agree with you on that front. But overall, though, I really do like her. She's nice. She's a nice full-figured lass. I like her. Her cleavage is very nice. To be fair, it's nice.
Oh.
I'm not going to hide away from that. And just the little print apps and stuff like that on the jacket. Her jacket is this nice kind of leathery kind of thing. It's got little patterns and runes kind of printed onto it, and it's got this side giveaway that's kind of overtly sexy, but you know, what can you do? It's Marvel. You know, it's got this nice kind of mesh over it, like you said earlier, Mike. I think it's a lovely figure. I agree with you that maybe she could have done with a little bit more twinkle in the eye. I kind of agree with you on that, but it's not something that really shouted at me the first thing. The first issue that I had was, oh crikey, I really can't get her to do any cool dynamics, and because as a character she does a lot of cool moves. You know, she flips around, she twirls her sword in cool ways. You know, she's got that kick-ass fight with Nebula. And you want Nebula
she's a dynamic character.
Nebula would be a cool figure actually to get. But so there you go, Hot Toys Gamora. We're all pretty happy with that. Looking to find collectible figures at low cost with superior customer service? Fanboy Collectibles is one of the largest retailers of high-end collectibles on the east coast of the USA. Carrying a full array of Hot Toys, Enter-Base, Sideshow Collectibles 3A and all the top manufacturers. Domestic and international packages shipped daily, all fully insured with tracking number and securely packed. Getting it to you as quickly is important, but not as important as your collectibles arriving in pristine condition. Are you looking to pre-order an item to guarantee you don't miss it when it's released? Well, Fanboy Collectibles does that too. If you got a question about an item, give them a call, shoot them an email, or even leave them a message on their Facebook page. Fanboy Collectibles is available full-time to respond to you and to get your items to you as quickly as possible. Anyone can make a sale. Fanboy Collectibles knows the key to being successful is repeat customers. That comes from doing the right thing by you and making customer services their priority. Fanboy Collectibles. For some it's a hobby, to them it's an obsession. Right then, we're going to introduce you to our new section now. Here's our new section.
And now for some noteworthy classic figure recommendations.
Right, so yeah, as our new section describes, we're going to now talk to you about an older figure that you might be able to pick up from either our sponsors or any of your local stores. So, my old figure of this particular episode is going to be Jake Sully Avatar. You can still get him in both of our sponsors. You can still get him in most other stores. Jake Sully Avatar. And it mystified me because I thought people loved Avatar and just it was a no-brainer. If you're a fan of the movie, of which there's a lot, loads of people buy this Jake Sully figure. And it's I love the fact that all the little mushrooms and all the little lights glow up around him. I think the paint apps are beautiful on him. All the little feathers that come from his hair, all his hair is plaited. I think it's a wonderful figure, and I'm just mystified that you can still readily get this.
Well, I agree with you. I love the figure. I think it's a really nice figure. However, Avatar is kind of a standalone phenomenon, isn't it? That it was kind of like this massive film. It did incredible box office. You know, it broke all world box office. But at the same time, it never really took off as a collectible thing. And I've read people, writing about this and stuff in the past. I mean, I can't remember, a lot of it now, but I do remember that it's been cited as one of these kind of like standalone phenomenons that never really generated the kind of geek fandom that they expected to. Yeah, there's a hardcore geek fandom out there, because there is for anything. There's, any remote TV series from the 1970s, you'll find some website somewhere for it. But at the same time, it never really got the ground that they expected. Now, when the sequels come out, maybe that'll change. I don't know. But it's a weird film. It is a weird film because I enjoy it as a movie. I really do. But it never really got under my skin. I just kind of think it's a great film. It's a great little film. It's very derivative. You'll always hear the citations of bloody... it's Pocahontas, Fern Gully, whatever you want to throw at it, Dances with Wolves, it's all in there, everything's been chucked at it. It's not an original movie, but at the same time, it's a good movie, it's a good little movie. It wouldn't have done the bloody numbers, it wouldn't have done the numbers it did if it wasn't. But I just don't think it ever got the traction. I don't think it ever really got under people's skins, particularly the skins of the geeks, the people who want to spend their money on this stuff.
Because it was too derivative, precisely because it was too derivative. I don't know. And too mainstream, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know.
What about your figure then, Jeff? What would your old figure that you'd recommend folks could still potentially maybe try to get, or even just an old one that people can't get? Just worth checking out.
How old do we have to be here? Because I've got a figure behind me now. I mean, I tend to circulate my stuff and put it into storage. There are a couple. I really still like the 3A Pop Bot. Popbot robot. I mean, it's one that I love robots in general. I just love any kind of like robots, and the fact that this has got this really cool kind of weathered old paint look on it, and it's got this massive six-shooter of a pistol. And he looks a little bit like the Iron Giant as well. I've always loved the Iron Giant design. So he's one that I just really love. I mean, as far as picking him up, I don't know how easy he is to pick up these days.
What's it called again? Which one is this?
Popbot.
Popbot, it's the Ashley Wood stuff.
It's the Ashley Wood stuff. It's from the Popbot universe. And I've got him standing next to this female character in like a white jumpsuit that came from the same series. He's got like one hook for a hand on a metal chain, and he's got this massive six-shooter. And he's I reviewed it for Mike's Site years ago, but he's just a perennial that's always on display because I just really love him. I think he looks really cool.
Cool. Mike, what would be your older figure of the week, of the month, of the podcast?
Well, I can give you two. One that you can still pick up, and one that you probably is going to cost you an arm and a leg.
Okay.
So we'll start with the arm and a leg. Everybody goes on about Blade, right? Hot Toys Blade, amazing figure, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But they forget that at that same time there was another Marvel figure they did that is outstanding, in my opinion, and that's their Ghost Rider with the bike.
Yeah.
That figure is just, it's a gorgeous figure. They did a fantastic job with the light up feature. The bike looks amazing. At the time, the price point was reasonable.
Yeah.
It seemed expensive then, but you look back on it and you're pretty amazed that they were able to do it for that price.
Yeah.
And it's an excellent example of one of their early Marvel figures that we're probably not going to see get made again.
No.
Unless, of course, somebody decides that they can really do a decent Ghost Rider movie.
Yeah,
the
thing that really harmed that was that it, as you say, it was an outstanding figure. The bike was fantastic, the way it lit up, and the detailing on the way the skull lit up was absolutely sublime. It was lovely, but the film stank. It was just like,
I have a little soft spot for it, but I know it's rubbish.
Yeah, that's not the problem. And on top of it, you just kind of skipped the Nick Cage sculpt. I mean, that was not something you really wanted. But on the other hand, as a Ghost Rider figure, a figure that is for that particular character, you're probably not going to see much better.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ghost Rider it is. I mean, I would have Ghost Rider. If I had the room and money to spare, I would have the Ghost Rider. I have a soft spot for that movie. I know it's rubbish, but I have a soft spot for it.
I've always been upset that I didn't buy Blade. Jeff got one, and he reviewed it at the time, and I thought about it, and and then I didn't get it.
Yeah, I got Blade.
Yeah. No, he was I think at the time,
one
the
that you
thing that
still
really
pick
stood
up.
out with it was a good sculpt. It probably stands up reasonably well now. I haven't looked at him for a while, but it's kind of like, it was all the accessories, it was his attention to detail, and it was that kind of like, they really kind of like pushed the boat out on all the different kind of knives and guns that he came with.
What was your other one then, Mike?
Well, I was going to say Roadblock, if you're a G.I. Joe fan. I liked Roadblock. I thought it was a well-done figure. You could still get him really cheap. I know fanboys got him. And he came with a nice set of accessories. I know some people complain about the head sculpt, but I think it's a decent version of The Rock.
Yeah.
Good for kit bashing some other Rock characters if you want, especially as it gets cheaper on the market right now. That's one that's still around that I think is worth taking a second look at.
Yeah, I believe so.
If I had to go for a second, I have to admit that one we reviewed, I think it came up a couple of months back, was I think it's Art Toys, the Dread figure. That again, because I love the movie, and I think everybody's really peed off that it didn't do the business that we all hoped it would, and it didn't kind of spawn a sequel. Although I know there's still talk on the internet of them crowdsourcing and all that.
It's not
kind of
happening.
stuff.
Next minute, it's not. So.
Exactly, but again, just the quality on that thing is outstanding. I mean, it looks like a Hot Toys quality figure. It's just a really lovely representation of that character. And if you're a Dredd fan, which I am, and I know you are, Eamon, it's just kind of like it was great to get somebody that actually finally did it. Although we know it wasn't licensed, so it's a bit dodgy for us even to be talking about it. But at the same time, I'm so glad somebody did it, and it's very affordable. I don't know what it's like on the secondary market now, but when it came out, it was, I'm not going to say dirt cheap, but compared to a lot of companies, it was pretty bloody cheap.
Pretty good ones there. I think out of all those, they're the hardest one to get out of all those figures. There's probably going to be the Ghost Rider. You can pick up Roadblock from either of our sponsors easily. You won't get Blade. Good luck with Blade. And You should still pick up the heavy armor cop pretty easily as well from either.
Yeah.
Don't know if Troy in Fanboy does that one, but I know. I'm not sure whether either of our sponsors carry the heavy armor cop because it's such a kind of a nondescript kind of a figure, and you have to be obviously a bit careful. I don't know. Check their websites. Listen to our adverts. There you go. So that's the end of our show then, lads. We hope you enjoyed this nice. We went for an extra long one because we've been away for like a little while long. We've all been busy with our lives and stuff, So we've been trying to get all these reviews together in a nice, big, cohesive, nice, beefy episode. We're just been over 130 minutes. That's 1 hour 30 minutes, 130 minutes. 1 hour 30 minutes. But if there's anything you guys feel that we should be talking, you can email me, eamon@eamonart.com. You can reach Mike at mwctoys.com. You can see all his reviews there as well. If you just want to read reviews, you can go to Mike's website as well. And you can also find Mike on at Mike Crawford on Twitter, and you can find myself Eamon_ at Twitter. You'll find me. I'm easy to find. So we hope you enjoyed our show. And as with every high-end action figure, always handle yourself with care. Gentlemen, if you'd like to bid our lovely fans adieu.
Have a good night.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Take care of yourself. Bye.